We're diving into a world where animals have two heads, trees drop pearls instead of leaves, and mystical creatures roam the lands. From the Bingfeng, a two-headed pig-like animal, to the moon rabbits and the mysterious Yeren, resembling Bigfoot. 9. Bingfeng. So there's this weird animal in an old Chinese book called Guideways Through Mountains and Seas. It's called the Bingfeng. Imagine a black pig, but with a really long body like a tube, and it's got two heads, one on each end, kind of like a two-sided pig. It's supposed to live in this mystical place called Shaman Xian. There's this famous writer Borges, who also talked about it and called it Bingfeng. He said it lived in a land with magical water. Now there's this guy, Guo Pu, who thought that because the Bingfeng had two heads, it must be really stubborn. But another thinker, Wen Yiduo, saw those two heads as a sign of it being both male and female. There are other two-headed animals in these old stories, but we don't know much about them. They probably mean something similar to the Bingfeng, though. Then there's the Pingpeng, which you can find on a mountain called Aochu. It's a lot like the Bingfeng, but its heads are on the sides, not the ends. Some people think they might actually be the same creature. And there's another one, the Chuti. Borges called it Choti. It's found in a wild southern area, and it's like a dog with two heads on the sides. 8. The pearl producers, Rupi, Tongtong, Zhubi, and Sanju Shu. Next, let's talk about 4 mythical creatures that can make pearls. First up is the Rupi. It's a flatfish, but with a bird's head. When it swims, pearls just keep falling out of its beak. Pretty cool, right? Then there's the Tongtong, a boar whose stomach somehow makes pearls. The third one is the Zhubi. This one's a bit wild. It's a turtle with 6 legs and 4 eyes. As it swims in rivers, it spits out pearls and bubbles. Last in this group is the Sanju Shu. This one's a tree, but not just any tree. It looks like a regular cypress tree, but its leaves are actually pearls. From far away, it looks like a comet. Legend has it that this tree grew from a pearl and was once something the Yellow Emperor wanted to find. 7. Longma. This is a mix between a horse and a dragon. It's got wings, a dragon's head, and dragon scales all over. It's said that this creature can walk on water. When people saw a Longma, they took it as a sign that their leader was a really good guy. The Longma is connected to some super old myths about China's first rulers, known as the 3 sovereigns and the 5 emperors. There's a tale that says a Longma is born when a female horse drinks water from a place where a dragon lives. So it's like a magical horse-dragon baby story. 6. Cich. Imagine a creature that's kind of like a mix between an ox and a goat. It's called the Cich. This critter has really thick, dark fur, super bright eyes, and one long horn right in the middle of its forehead. It's super smart, like it can understand people talking, and it's got this amazing talent for knowing what's right and what's wrong. Back in the olden days in China, there are stories about it using its horn to deal with bad guys, especially those sneaky, corrupt officials. It became a big deal as a symbol of fairness and doing the right thing. There was this famous justice dude, Gao Yao, who even used the Cich in legal stuff. It would bump the guilty ones with its horn, but leave the innocent peeps alone. In old Chinese law, you'd see the Cich's picture a lot, like on badges of the law folks, and people believed it could keep away evil spirits. In Korea, they call it Heitai, and it's seen as this strong creature with sharp scales, a bell, and that signature single horn. They believe it guards against fires, and you'll find its sculptures in buildings and stuff. 5. Moon rabbits. Somewhere far, far away, there's this old Buddhist tale about a bunch of critters, a monkey, an otter, a jackal, and our main star, a rabbit. They're all trying to be the best they can be, doing good deeds and stuff. But here's where it gets interesting. Our rabbit buddy can't find any grub to offer as a good deed. So what does it do? It offers itself as food to an old man. Plot twist. The old man is actually a god in disguise. The god is so wowed by the rabbit's selflessness that he decides to draw the rabbit on the moon as a sort of cosmic shout-out. This tale is a big hit across Asia. People celebrate it in festivals like Zhongqiujie in China and Tsukimi in Japan. And fun fact, there's a similar story in Aztec mythology. They've got their god, Quetzalcoatl, who spots a selfless rabbit and, you guessed it, plonks it on the moon as a sign of respect. 4. Sanchi, the 3 corpses. Okay, now let's switch gears to something a bit more on the spooky side. There's this belief that every person has these three, let's say, uninvited guests, chilling inside them. These could be eerie, demon-like figures or just look like regular folks. These three are thought to be the troublemakers behind illnesses and all sorts of health problems, dabbling in some nasty evil forces. They're a part of Taoist beliefs, especially linked with the Po souls. Po souls are all about our physical self, and they seem to have a knack for causing chaos in our bodies. These three corpses get name-dropped in a bunch of ancient Chinese texts, and they're a pretty big deal in Taoist meditation and traditional Chinese medicine. What's more, they're even connected to certain star constellations. This shows how the ancient Chinese saw a deep link between our bodies and the cosmos. 3. Boyi. So, Boyi was this really important guy in ancient Chinese stories. He was a leader back in the days of the Longshan culture, which is like really old China. Boyi was more than just a ruler. He was a hero who helped control this massive flood that was causing all sorts of problems. Picture him working alongside other big names like Shun and Yu the Great, trying to stop all this water from wrecking everything. Boyi wasn't just about dealing with floods, though. He was also super smart and inventive. He's credited with coming up with the idea of digging wells, which was a huge deal back then. Imagine living in a time where finding water was a major struggle, and then this guy comes along and says, "Hey, let's dig into the ground and find water." Game changer, right? His family lineage is pretty impressive too. He's the ancestor of some big royal families like Zhao and Qin. And get this, one of his descendants was none other than Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of unified China. That's like being the great-great-grandparent of a celebrity. In some of the stories, Boyi could even talk to animals and birds. Imagine chatting with a bird about the weather or asking a deer where the best grass is. He was also involved in creating laws and being a minister after the flood. So he was a bit of a jack of all trades, a hero, a leader, a lawmaker, and an animal whisperer. 2. Yeren. Now let's talk about the Yeren, which is kind of like China's version of Bigfoot or the Yeti. This creature is said to live in the mountains, especially around the Shenongjia forest in Hubei province. People describe the Yeren as a big walking creature over 2 meters tall, all covered in hair, with a face that's a mix of ape and human, kind of like seeing a really tall, hairy person who hasn't shaved, ever. The Yeren has been a part of Chinese folklore for ages. There are stories and sightings going way back, with people saying they've seen this creature, heard it, or even found footprints. Some think it might be an undiscovered primate, or maybe even a survivor from an ancient species like Gigantopithecus. That's like saying, hey, maybe a creature from our history textbooks is still hanging around. There's been a lot of interest in finding out what the Yeren really is. Scientists and adventurers have gone on expeditions, trying to get a glimpse or find some evidence. But the Yeren is super elusive. It's like the ultimate game of hide and seek. There are even theories that the Yeren might be related to other mysterious creatures like Sasquatch or Yetis. Despite all the interest and the hunts, the Yeren remains a mystery. No one's been able to prove it exists for sure, but the stories and legends keep people fascinated. It's a mix of history, mystery, and a bit of a thrill, all rolled into one big hairy package. 1. Yaoguai. This term is a bit broader and covers a range of demons or spirits in Chinese folklore. Think of them as the characters you might find in a fantasy novel or a horror movie. They can be tricky, sometimes scary, and often have magical powers. Yaoguai can shapeshift, appearing as animals, humans, or sometimes a mix of both. The stories about Yaoguai vary a lot. In some tales, they're more mischievous, causing trouble but not really being evil. In others, they're downright nasty, the kind of creatures you wouldn't want to meet in a dark alley. They pop up in all sorts of Chinese myths and literature, sometimes playing major roles in the stories. Yaoguai are part of the rich book of Chinese mythology. They show the diverse range of characters and stories that have been told and retold in China for centuries. Each Yaoguai is unique, with its own story, powers, and place in the folklore. From the dual-headed Bingfeng to the mysterious Yeren and the captivating Yaoguai, we've journeyed through a world brimming with wonder and ancient tales. Did you have a favorite mythical creature? Maybe the pearl-dropping rupee or the noble Longma caught your fancy? Share your thoughts and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more fascinating journeys into the realms of mythology. Before you go, let us know. If you could meet one of these mythical creatures, which one would it be and why?